Yes. All right, Peter. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
All right, Peter Barnes in D.C. Well, for more on today's volatile trading and what's next for the markets, joining us, Tobin Smith, chairman of the NBT Equity Group and Fox News contributor from Denver, Colorado. We have Dow Jones columnist Al Lewis. Joining us in Tampa, Florida, Francis Newton, the CEO of Francis Insights. And in Palm Beach, Florida, John Brown, the senior market strategist for Euro Pacific Capital and a former member of the British Parliament. Toby, when you have a down 400 day, we're supposed to have an up 400 day the next day. What happened today?
I keep hearing QE3 in my ears somewhere. You know, this is going to be a process. This is a 6 to 8 to 10 week sorting out of what the valuation should be relative to a slower growing economy than we were going to expect to have. Certainly a slower Europe. The good news is that it's very rare that we actually have a sort of back-to-back bear markets in 2 years, and particularly the good news at these valuations. At 10 times a dollar of earnings, it's hard to make the bear case, but I think you can make the we're going nowhere case, and I think that's what we have for the next couple of weeks at least.
John, I have to ask you about this. You know, the fears about Europe, they seem to be creeping in every week now, or maybe they'll go away for a few sessions, and then all of a sudden they'll come back. Are they overblown a little bit, you think, in terms of this sell-off?
Oh, no. As I forecast in 2006, both in writing and on television, what we're going to see is, first of all, a real estate crisis leading to a banking crisis, which governments could salvage. Then stimulus, so we have a synthetic market recovery. I actually thought it'd go a little higher. And now we're seeing the third phase, which is a sovereign debt crisis, which will lead to a currency collapse. And then on the fourth phase, a gold-based new currency. And so we're just entering the third phase, and the sovereign debt crisis is so bad because who can solve sovereign debt crisis? I mean, that's the big problem when governments run out of money and credibility. That's a huge problem, and of course it's creating great uncertainty. And when you combine this with, in American economy, where you have the government which is pressing on the accelerator with stimulus packages and a debased dollar, and at the same time has its foot on the brake with over-regulation, over-taxation, and things like that. So you get huge uncertainty in the market and fear. And that's what's driving this market now and making it so highly volatile as it tries to grapple with the combination of inflation and recession, which is stagflation.
All right, I've got to jump into Al here. Al, ironically, right after Labor Day, the president is going to give us his new plan on labor, on jobs. Is that going to do anything to restore confidence?
I can't wait. You mean he's got a plan for jobs? How long has he had this plan? Has he been keeping it a secret all this time? You know what? The government is out of bullets. They can't do anything to create jobs. It would have been great if Obama would have done something with jobs with that first stimulus bill that he had, but he didn't. It would have been great if he would have done it a little bit even after that, but they can't. There's not the political will to do this kind of Keynesian economics anymore, and frankly, I think whatever he has to offer is going to be too little, too late, and we are going to see 9, 10% unemployment for the foreseeable future.
And, you know, Francis, more job layoffs announced in the banking industry. Bank of America, 3,500 jobs announced. It may even go up as high as 10,000. We've seen it from several other banks here over the last few weeks. Certainly, is this a sign of the times? I mean, I was asking some people earlier today, who's had a worse month, President Obama or CEO Moynihan at Bank of America? When you talk about everything that's going against him, and then to top it all off, the building, the Bank of America building here in New York was struck by lightning a couple of days ago in a thunderstorm.
That's probably a good sign.
I think we even have a picture of that happening.
That may take the cake.
Right. And ironically,
that may take the cake.
Right, there it is right there. You can see the building being struck by lightning. That's right down the street from our headquarters here. So that wasn't a convenient miss. So whoever was throwing that lightning bolt was aiming for the Bank of America building. But what do you think about the state of our economy when banks are laying people off at the rate that they are?
I think that banks earned some very interesting lessons on the last deflationary collapse that started in October of '07, and I think that they see it coming again, whether they want to be honest about it or not, and I think that they are acting accordingly. I think that they know that we have another wave of deflation. It's a mathematical certainty. We do not have inflation, and I think they're preparing.
Well, but remember, with all due respect here, the people that are laying off are thanks to our Dodd-Frank Act. Almost all of the jobs were from the trading, from the investment banking side, because the demand and those jobs have gone away thanks to our government regulation.
And, of course, the American banks are hugely exposed to Europe.
Go ahead, Al. What were you saying?
Because they have because the American banks
I'm sorry,
have
that
huge,
and they just
they've
can't make
underwritten
up
huge
securities on
credit
that thin
default
air.
Now I
swaps.
got everybody talking at the same time. I'll tell you what, Al, give me your thoughts, and then, John, I'm going to go to you real quick.
Well, I agree with Tobin, but, you just can't make mortgage-backed securities the way you used to. You can't just make up securities out of the thin air and just sell them to Europe.
I got about 3 mortgages I'd like to sell them, by the way.
Everybody wants to be risk-averse. John, what do you think?
The American banks have underwritten insurance by underwriting huge numbers of credit default swaps from the continental banks in Europe, and therefore they're exposed to the massive problem of sovereign debt in Europe. Plus, of course, they have interbank relationships in normal deposits with European banks. And so what's happening in Europe is of crucial importance to the American banking system, which has now got bigger banks than ever.
That's why we've got our eyes on it, and that's why everyone's buying gold these last couple of weeks. That is for sure. Tobin,
that's right.
Al,
That's
Francis,
exactly right.
John, thank you so much. We're going to check back with you guys a little bit later on. All right, coming up, much more on the markets. Plus, Obamacare suffers a huge loss in the courts. Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi is at the